Why would anyone put half a ton of dynamite under a dead whale? It sounds like something out of a comedy movie, but it really happened. In 1970, a quiet town on the Oregon coast faced a problem so enormous, so foul-smelling, and so difficult to solve that officials came up with a solution almost impossible to believe. They decided to blow it up. What happened next sent massive chunks of whale flesh flying through the air, forced terrified spectators to run for their lives, and destroyed a brand new car parked hundreds of feet away. This is the unbelievable, true story of the exploding whale incident, and it all began with one dead whale on a beach. On November 9th, 1970, a giant sperm whale washed ashore near Florence, Oregon, about a mile south of the Siuslaw River jetty. The whale was enormous, roughly 45 feet long, weighing around 8 tons, about the size of a school bus. But this wasn't a living animal in need of rescue. It had been dead for days, lying on the beach under the sun, decomposing a little more with every hour. And as decomposition continued, the smell grew worse and worse, until the giant whale became impossible to ignore. Something had to be done, but there was one problem. How exactly do you get rid of an 8-ton dead whale? At the time, responsibility for Oregon's beaches fell under the Oregon State Highway Division. So the problem landed on the desk of government officials who suddenly found themselves running one of the strangest cleanup operations imaginable. Whale strandings were rare on this stretch of coast, and nobody had much recent experience to draw on. The last one on record was back in 1910, and nobody could remember how it was handled. 3 options came up. Bury it, but the tides could uncover it again. Cut into pieces, but that meant finding people and equipment willing to carve up a rotting 8-ton carcass. Leave it to decompose naturally, slow, and it meant weeks more of that smell hanging over the beach, plus a health hazard for anyone nearby. The longer officials considered the problem, the worse every option looked. Then somebody suggested a 4th idea, a bold one. Why not just blow the whale up? The plan sounded simple enough, use enough. Explosives to break the whale into small pieces. Let the smaller chunks fall into the ocean or scatter across the beach, and let nature and the local scavengers handle the rest. Problem solved, or so they thought. The official overseeing the operation was Oregon Highway Division engineer George Thornton. Speaking to local reporter Paul Linman, Thornton explained that dynamite had solved plenty of difficult problems before, and he saw no reason this one would be any different. The only real question was how much dynamite it would actually take to break apart an 8-ton whale. After consulting explosives experts, officials settled on their answer. About half a ton of dynamite, 20 cases, 50 pounds each, carefully packed around the carcass. As preparations continued, a crowd began to gather, pulled in by curiosity and by a smell that had already reached most of Florence. News crews showed up too, expecting a quirky, low-stakes local story. Nobody standing there had any idea what they were about to witness. Spectators were moved back to what officials believed was a safe distance, about a quarter mile. The plan was to blast the whale apart and send the remains toward the ocean, where the tide, the seagulls, the crabs, and the rest of nature would take care of whatever was left. Everything appeared ready, but right before detonation, a warning came in. A man driving past stopped to watch. He had experience with explosives, and after sizing up the setup, he told the crew something was wrong. If the goal was just to nudge the whale toward the ocean, they were using too much dynamite. If the goal was to fully disintegrate it, they weren't using nearly enough. Half a ton, he warned, was the worst possible number. Enough to blow the whale apart, not enough to actually destroy it. The warning came too late. The explosives were already in place. The crowd was waiting. The cameras were rolling. Then someone gave the signal. The explosion was enormous. For one brief moment, it looked like the plan had worked. The whale's body erupted, sand, smoke, and massive pieces of whale blasting into the sky. The crowd watched in amazement. Then the horror set in. The whale hadn't been reduced to tiny, harmless pieces. Instead, huge chunks were coming back down, and they were coming down everywhere. The safe quarter-mile distance suddenly didn't feel safe at all. People screamed and ran. The news crew abandoned their positions and sprinted for cover. Camera still rolling as slabs of whale blubber crashed onto the sand around them. One witness later described the exact moment. It hit him. You could actually die out here, killed by falling whale meat. And the smell, already bad, was now, in the words of the crew on scene, twice as horrible. The blast had scattered the whales, decomposing insides across the entire beach. But the explosion had one more surprise waiting. The moment that would become the most famous image of the whole incident. About 450 feet away sat a brand new Oldsmobile. Its owner had been one of the spectators. And, ironically, he was the same man who'd warned officials the dynamite amount was wrong. He bought the car just days earlier. It was parked far enough away that he almost certainly believed it was safe. Then a piece of whale the size of a coffee table fell out of the sky and crushed it flat. The irony was impossible to miss. The one man who tried to stop this exact outcome ended up losing his brand new car to it. The state of Oregon later reimbursed him in full. And incredibly, despite flying whale debris in a stampeding crowd, nobody was killed. Nobody was even seriously injured. But the cleanup was far from over. When the smoke cleared, officials found the beach littered with whale pieces and a fine coating of blubber over everything nearby. The blast had even carved a crater into the sand. A large portion of the whale hadn't been destroyed at all. It just sat there, waiting to be dealt with the old-fashioned way. Eventually, it was buried with the help of a bulldozer. Even the seagulls, who were supposed to clean up the smaller scraps, were too spooked by the explosion to come near the beach for days. At first, this was just a local news story, a strange, slightly embarrassing footnote for the Oregon Highway Division. But Paul Lemon's footage refused to disappear. Over the years, it got replayed again and again, spreading far beyond Oregon, until millions of people had seen government officials try to solve an 8-ton problem with dynamite and watched it go spectacularly wrong. Years later, when reporters tracked down George Thornton, he still believed the news coverage had made the operation look far worse than it actually was. But for everyone else, the footage told its own story. The flying debris, the running crowd, the crushed car, whale blubber, literally falling from the sky. It became one of the strangest, most watched moments in American local news history, viewed over 350 million times. By 2006, decades before anyone even had a word for going viral. And the lesson wasn't lost on Oregon either. In 1979, when 41 sperm whales stranded and died on a beach south of Florence, officials faced the exact same problem all over again. This time there was one option nobody even considered: dynamite. The whales were burned and buried instead. And to this day, that's still how Oregon handles it. In Florence, the memory of that November afternoon in 1970 never really faded. It became part of local history, then Oregon history, then internet history, famous enough that the town eventually named a recreation area the Exploding Whale Memorial Park, a permanent, good-humor tribute to the day everything went wrong in the most spectacular way imaginable. More than 50 years later, people are still watching the footage and asking the same question: why would anyone blow up a whale? Maybe the better question is, what did they think was going to happen? Because on that November day in 1970, officials had one enormous problem. Sitting on an Oregon beach, they had dynamite. They had a plan. And for a few unforgettable seconds, they sent a whale into history. If you enjoyed this unbelievable true story, leave a like and tell us in the comments, what would you have done with an 8-ton dead whale? And if you want more strange, shocking, and unbelievable stories from history, subscribe to D-Past, because sometimes the strangest stories are the ones that really happen.